So today we will discuss and we will talk about the results of our group discussion during this week regarding a very great movies directed by, I think, one of my favorite director, Malaysian director, which is Aziz and Osman, around the year of 2000, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so the title of the movie is Lieutenant Adnan. Okay, so based on the title of the movie, we already know that it was inspired by a Malayan and a Singaporean heroes in the era of British and the Japanese around 1940s. Okay, so a little background about him. He was from Sungai Ramal, Kajang in Selangor. Okay, so at the age of 18, he had ventured into the military and he was among the first 25 young men who served to the Royal Malay Regiment. So I'm begging to you right now, please stay tuned to this video and listen carefully to my presentation. Why? Because I think this is very important for us as a Malaysian to support and to respect and to appreciate our heroes. So please stay tuned.
British Army needs to plan strategies before the Japanese invasion, so method plan was recommended to restrict Japanese movement. What is this method plan anyway? Operation Method is the name given to a war planned by the Malayan Operation Headquarters to move British Army troops into Thailand territory in retaliation to counter an amphibious attack by Japanese force on Thailand. So the strategies taken by the British Army is to recruit more soldiers among the Malays. This can increase man force. So second is the British activate the stay behind party to help oppose the Japanese. The British also added in terms of weapons as well as logistics to them.
One of the challenges faced by the Royal Malay Regiment was the British Army command Lieutenant Adnan and his troop to be the frontline defenders against the Japanese army, which caused Lieutenant Adnan and his troop to be very wounded and ran out of bullets. So one of the solutions took by Lieutenant Adnan is he command his troops to go and charge their guns at the invaders and only use bayonets and fists to fight against Japanese army. One of the strategies took by Lieutenant Adnan is he command some of his troops to be at the top of the Bukit Chandu to spy the arriving of Japanese army.
The first one is the lack of intel to conquer Malaya, and the second one is Japanese intelligence found that the British would block their movement from Thailand. Japanese people in Malaya became intelligence agents. They became a spy. Major Fujiwara also became a spy to gather information before the arrival of Japanese army. They disguised themselves as barbers, shopkeepers, photographers, Chinese and tourists. They also succeeded in inciting the Malays to side with Japan and overthrow the British colonialists. In the movie, Ibrahim Yaakob, the founder of Kesatuan Melayu Muda (KKM), believed that Japanese would aid Malaya in gaining independence, but he was lied to.
Established diplomatic relations with Thailand. Thailand allowed Japan through its territory to enter Malaya by land. The Japanese promised the Patani area to Thailand. Patani is actually belong to Malaya. They also promised not to attack Thailand. Japan wants to expand their power due to economic restriction factors and economic problems. They want to monopolize resources in Malaya to help the economic problems that were plaguing Japan at that time. Ibrahim Yaakob was incited by the sweet promises made by the Japanese spy. Japan had promised independence to Malaya and will drive out British colonialism.
Because the Japanese wanted to enter Malaya by land. They wanted to enter Malaya using water and land without alerting the British. However, the British are aware of this, but it's already too late. So by cooperating with Thailand, Japanese successfully enter Malaya. So Thailand agreed to give cooperation on this because Japan promised to lend a helping hand in gaining some territories.
The fourth why will be that while only Royal Malay Regiment was defending Japanese army until Lieutenant Adnan and his troops were mortally wounded, but at the same time British army was only commanding. One of the reasons was British army agreed for the formation of Royal Malay Regiment as a locally raised regiment and is only for defending Malaya. Secondly, Lieutenant Adnan was so courageous even though he was shot. He gave alertness and awareness to his troops that they are responsible in defending this country. Thirdly, British was only expecting Royal Malay Regiment to defend this Japanese army as they command Lieutenant Adnan to be the leader of these troops.
This is all just out of revenge against Lieutenant Adnan, who has sacrificed and killed many Japanese soldiers. He was the highest, bravest officers who fight against the Japanese all the way to defend his motherland. They felt threatened by his leadership, determination, spirit and courage. So he was stabbed to death by the Japanese army.
Okay, so to sum up all the point, I think it's very important for us to examine and to study all the root causes of the outbreak of the war in Malaya around 1940s. The Japanese power during the time was undeniably very powerful, very strong, and they were able to defeat China and Russia. Therefore, Japan wanted to control the Malaya and fight against the British due to the richness of Malaya's land and to prove to the world that they are so powerful and unbeatable. With a powerful strength and a powerful unparalleled military strategies, they managed to conquer the Malaya within just 69 days and drive out the British from the Malaya.